Now, step up your efforts rather than complaining. That's a call by some economists to government after described as negative propaganda the recent ratings by financial agency Moody's. The agency downgraded Ghana's bond ratings from a B ratings to C and justified the downgrade by pointing out liquidity and debt challenges as well as the pandemic-induced revenue underperformance. But government has rejected these findings or these ratings. We'll hear from the Deputy Finance Minister shortly. But first, let's break down the grading system and what it means. My colleague Kofi J of our research desk joins us. Kofi, let's start with a grading system. How is the grading done?
Right, so in terms of the grading, if you take a look at Fitch grading starts from a triple A to a D. Okay. And it is similar to what we find in S&P. S&P is also from a triple A to a D. But when it comes to Moody's, it's from a triple A to a C. Okay. Okay, so an A means that people are safe, the highest level of safety. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes from the B to the B minus to the C's, it's when you're at the highest risks of going to the financial markets to borrow. Mm. Yeah.
So what do these ratings mean for the country's economy when it comes to long-term bonds, for instance?
It simply means that if you've been downgraded to, let's say, a B minus with a negative outlook, it means that now you are going to pay you are going to pay high in terms of interest when it comes to you going to the international market to look for funds. Now let's start with long-term issuer credits for Moody's. Mm. So let me start with Moody's. So Moody's, the current rating was in February 4th, 2022. Okay. Now Moody's has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ratings on Ghana's economy. Mm. Now the current ratings is a CAA1 with a stable outlook. Okay. Now if you compare this to the Fitch ratings, it's exactly, a triple C that government fears the most, So a CAA1 is equivalent to a triple C on a Fitch scale. Okay. Now, if you take a look at
the Standard and Poor's.
Yes, Standard and Poor's. Mm. So they have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 ratings as far as the Ghanaian economy is concerned, and it started with a B1 in...
No, we're looking at Moody's now.
Yeah, sorry.
So we have to move the slide so we can look at... So we can look at Standards and Poor's, and then we can look at Fitch as well, which is the other ratings. Okay, so this Standards and Poor's. No, we went back to Moody's.
Today our screen is...
So we have Standards and Poor's on the screen.
So let's do the Moody's. Let's do the Moody's since we are facing difficulties. Okay, so Moody's has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ratings, and it started S&P. So the first ratings was in March 16, 2019. That was a B plus with a negative outlook, and this was maintained a B, another B, and a B plus in September 2013. Now our current rating. It started from September 11, 2020, a B minus with a stable outlook, and this has been maintained in February 4th, 2022, a B minus also with a stable outlook in 2022. Now, if you look at Moody's, so for Moody's, they have had about 8 ratings for Ghana, and so they started with a B1 in 2012, another B1 in 2013. A B2 in 2014, a B3 in 2015. It was maintained 3, we had 4 consecutive, B3s from 2015 to 2020. In 2020, there were 2 ratings. The first one was in 24th June 2020, and the second was in April 17, 2020. And the current ratings is it just came at the time of S&P, the same time that S&P released their ratings, February 4th, 2022. Okay. And this is a C with a double A1 with a stable outlook. It means that our credit ratings on Moody's scale has moved from a B3 with a negative outlook to a C double A1 with a stable outlook. So that's a downgrade.
Now, there's one thing that is consistent with the rating. So we've seen that of Moody's, we've seen Standard & Poor's, which is the latest. We'll come to that shortly. And then we've also seen Fitch as well. We see generally a downgrade, except that there's a difference when it comes to Moody's the outlook for Ghana.
Exactly.
And so what does this mean? Let's look at first Standard & Poor's, the latest ratings. What does this mean for our economy? What are they saying about our credit ratings?
So Standard & Poor's, they have about two concerns. They're just like Moody's, they are concerned about the level of our debts.
Okay.
And then our ability to, raise revenue to finance the debt that we owe. So the key word here is that, although you've been downgraded, it comes as a result of your ability to pay, your ability to settle your debt. And that's the most important thing here. So the concerns raised by both Moody's and Standard & Poor's is that, our debt levels are high currently. And then when it comes to raising, revenue to finance debt, it hasn't really gone, in a good way for the country. Now, if you look at interest payments this year, it's taking a chunk of our revenue. And that's a worry that both Moody's and S&P are, pointing out that this could be one of the reasons why we've had a downgrade.
Kofi, thank you very much for helping us understand these ratings and what they actually mean for our economy. Over the weekend, President Akufo-Addo urged African countries to guard against the impact of such negative ratings on their economy. Today, a deputy finance minister says the ratings is negative propaganda. He spoke on the AM show.
I particularly has rejected these ratings from Moody's. We have issued a statement. Just on 22nd January 2022, they appointed the lead Ghana analyst, Juan Veralusi, who has never even traveled to Ghana before. You sit before your desktop and look at documents and downgrade a country without even fiscally engaging the people.
Are you suggesting Moody's manufactured these figures, that they did not do the right due diligence?
The basis, we don't agree with the basis of those analyses. And we have made it plainly to them that, first of all, you cannot seek to downgrade a country in the midst of this pandemic when all your basis of this downgrade is that Ghana has overspent in COVID. I want to ask which country in the world has not overspent because of COVID? Why are they not downgrading the European and American economy? It's just hypocritical, and I don't think we should give attention to this kind of negative propaganda against Africa.
We can now hear from some economists who have expressed surprise at the reaction of government. They want government to do better in managing the economy instead of attacking these agencies.
These agencies change their models, right? The models they're using to great companies, great sovereign entities like Ghana, across Africa, everywhere, remains the same. They don't change their gradings because it's COVID. The only difference is that the parameters that are feeding into the model they use have changed. So if you spend more, in COVID, and it gives you a future that indicates that you will struggle to pay your debt, it gives you a future that indicates that COVID may have affected your production, so therefore you are not likely to pay your debt. Obviously you'll be downgraded. What we have to do is that we have to relate the downgrading of Ghana to other African countries and look at on the continent whether we've all been downgraded to a certain margin or not. Then we'll be able to appreciate what is happening on the ground. But I can tell you that the investor will not understand an information that will come from, the government that is managing the economy. But rather, they will rely on the information that these rating agencies gives them, because they've been relying on them to take their decision all this while. Why is it that the previous times when they were grading us, we never came out? And we should also understand that for these rating agencies, we got something solicited rating and then unsolicited, rating. What African countries do is what? Solicited. We hide them more or less because we want to get our information out there to the public, to the investment public. so that when we go to the market, the investor already has certain levels of information with us.
Right.
They've been grading all this while. So why at this time this reaction? I mean, for me, I will advise that the government does not go on to react to this grading, but rather accept it as a transition.
Well, I'm also quite surprised at the reaction of government to the ratings. Reading the report, I thought that the Moody's ratings was actually quite magnanimous to the government, because they said that they've kept our outlook as stable because of the government pre-pandemic track record of effective policies and effective policy management. So I'm quite surprised that the Deputy Finance Minister is at the reaction generally. But I mean, the substance of what is there, I don't think there's much to dispute in terms of how the fact that when we collect revenue, almost half is going to service interest. And the fact that, in the 2022 budget, we are going to rely more on domestic financing. The fact that it has the potential to crowd out the private sector. The fact that interest costs are going to go up because we are expecting that the interest rates are going to go up because the monetary policy rate will be expected to go up. It's already gone up in the last 3 months or so. And then around the world, we are all projecting that because inflation pressures are going up around the world, interest costs, many banks, central banks will raise their rates. So for me, I wasn't quite surprised at the downgrade. I expected that because the information that is being used to evaluate the economy is very similar. So I think maybe what we should do is to step up our effort to convince and show that we have a plan to bring the public finances back to where it should be rather than trying to criticize the rating.